Dear Fox News, today on Outnumbered, you had a correspondent make analogy with the library at Trinity College. Trinity College confessed, and people demonstrated, recorded, confirmed. A whole bunch of people from other areas, when I was a kid, associated with a Mark Violet, for example, and a Justin Klevinskis, they have roles with O'Brien family, with Ray Kalal, who was and I don't know, they were switching names with the people that lived next to them, who lived next to me. But I hadn't been living at home for about 10 years, and I never really knew them, barely. One of them, in other words, with past neighbors, and they got involved because former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, in a whole bunch of different countries have been they had roles with these names next to the campuses too. Afghan leaders and kids, for example, have roles with Los Solitos per themselves, even on Facebook. That's why on Facebook, a whole bunch of people tied to police chiefs retired from Wethersfield have roles with some untimely deaths. One of the untimely deaths was at Trinity College. And one of the things connected to it, and some of them were off campus. Even if they made that up too, by the way, because they use the right to lie where they don't have the right to lie. And these are people that offensively pretend others are lying. Dean Alford is one of the ones intercities too that has confessions intercities. See, for example, a Mark Violet and a Mike Violet have roles with the intelligence community, including with foreign and domestic military, and people on off UConn, on off Trinity College, on off and next to Central Connecticut State University. And they have some KKK black themed military police and roles with different kinds of medicines and drugs and attaching others to fake. They went to my campus. I never saw them in a classroom in my life. I don't know if they went to my campus. I saw them. I passed by a couple times and saw them there. But they also bring kids from private schools for evidence as crimes that way. And in other words, to make it look like they know them. Like a Joshua Julian is one of the ones involved with the principal child abuser. That was proven, but at the time it's involved with the people at Trinity College. See, this is in Wethersfield. And the people at Trinity College through time with this Joshua Stryker too. A Joshua Stryker has been lying about himself and others and me, pretend fake ties to me, fake natures of ties to me. With people, they try to make one exception, fake exception, has something to do with them planting evidences on off the state judicial branch offices, and with people at names and locations next to it, like the businesses too. Wethersfield Pizza has wire crimes that involved them pretending I had a conversation ever with a Stephen Stocko and his roles with the intelligence community at Central Connecticut State University and at Wethersfield campuses further involved with child offenders. Also as ones on off the state corrections offices, the same ones on off the state judicial branch offices with federal evidences crimes with names next to it through time. And this is also relative because these are people that have roles with all sides in criminal and civil cases. They're lawyers, they're family members, and the interbranch switch names, forge names, and collude with stacking and having stacked self-valued, have stacked fake things, collusions in databases. And there are U/S of that, which is effectively, for example, where there are hyper evidential things that we have to observe, but mandated law is not followed offensively by people pretending it's about politics too. And that's involved with the shell game. See, our founders left us, our founders behind James Madison and his plan, which are distinct from our founders. See, if we don't know that up front, then the nature of the debate could be, was, and is used to measure and maintain that's self-value. They're going to pretend they're experts, each of the sciences. voicings, which is every person is an expert on the science because everyone is the science. Science share an identity. But so in other words, some murders rolls with body dumping spots, and then again through time, and then different body dumping spots, and the names next to it. As one's involved with the courts switching anything, a whole bunch of names in the Britain Superior Court and Harvard courts had roles with federal evidences, crimes, planting it as collusions with locations. Everything that comes before them, they increasingly have collusions. Black people. They have some black KKK themed military between these campuses. So it is important to understand how they've been forging and switching names, including with the interbranch. They've been preventing writing. They've been putting fake audio and video transcripts to totally make things up and to pretend people are liars. And they've been changing what's actually recorded audio and video. So they have all more digital crimes. And they have police forms, intelligence, whatever they are. There's intelligence, all natures involved. These are, in other words, as the people all tied to in other words, a whole bunch of people tied to Coloro, DeMorrow, and they said they have a cousins named Scalora. Scaloras aren't increasingly intercities and interstates, criminally foreign influence, and not just internationally. Central Connecticut State University has roles also with a Dean Judd. With a Dean Alford also has roles with putting fake things in databases, telling lies about me behind my back, and trying to make fake exceptions where I don't even know all their names. Something to do, everyone with the state judicial branch offices. Also, Enzo Fianza, recorded capacity demonstrated confirmed. Roles with federal evidences crimes with people on off the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso, and with people on off the state judicial branch offices, and they have a house near there, and their house next to across the street from a kid. When I was in my fourth grade class, I had no conversation with him ever. In other words, I didn't respond to him when he made a statement, a confession, after I graduated high school. With the one very time, real quick, with Eric Jensen. It has something to do with Eric Jensen's family's roles with state police forms. And with the police family, Weathersfield police have been forging and switching names, planting evidence on all sides of my house, all sides of their houses, with he said, she said rackets. They have a whole bunch of different countries involved with these names. That rolls with at worse than war crimes with these World Trade Center predicate acts. WFSB had me in fake conversations with them with this. So all sides in criminal and civil cases at the same time, their lawyers, their family members, their sources, and the interbranch, the same thing with them, and the intelligence tied to them, and I don't know, state corrections office, I don't know, state judicial branch at the same time. That's not complicated; it's extensive. That's why people aren't supposed to change. But people, we're trying to figure out, you get them on paper. That's what's the problem here, because everyone's forcing the hyper evidential not discern. I'm speaking about predicate acts, for example. There's an officer that uses the name. He refuses to identify himself, calls himself Darth Vader. He's involved with the untimely deaths with the FBI and people at Hartford Hospital. A whole bunch of people tied to the name Cololo, who was brought up by the confessions of the girls, who also recorded capacity demonstrated confirmed this Joshua Stryker. Whole bunch of people tied to them abused them because they're involved with identity theft, fraud, slander, involved with lying about themselves and others behind their back. I wasn't even in the same grade as that person. They used corner that and take a picture of you one time I walked by him. In other words, to pretend he know me. Has something to do with their roles also with the Native American intelligence. And clearer than day, A through Z. Differences culturally, A through Z. Not one of you could speak properly for president/chief for that breaching method that had been entrenched. That, in other words, and you guys have so replaced with our founders behind James Madison and his plan, communicated for themselves and about that plan and about that breaching method. And then they went and got George Washington to agree to help their plan. So, in other words, a whole bunch of names tied to the people that were on my street at the time in Wethersfield. Time, like one person that I know had, that Robert. There's a Robert Reed. I don't know if that's his real name. These are detective families too. There's a guy with it. What are they doing with the EMS? Like retired detectives. When did they have integrity? If they have roles of World Trade Center predicate acts. And with the courts, and it was proven after the World Trade Center attack, post-dated legal papers had been presented, post-dated from inside the court next to the World Trade Center. Once that was proven, that led up to a 2006 district court case with Robert Luskin and with his lawyer and with his co-defendants and their family members who were also involved planting evidences on Trinity College and on off where everyone lives and next to them. The same names involved. So it has something to do with their roles with the state capitol names next to it too, planting evidences. Whole bunch of ones are tied to Anthony Yagman on Facebook with Hartford Hospital, with child offenders, and with Wethersfield Police and their family members, further with the principal child offender involved with sexual and medical, as families involved with overt criminal enterprises and private ones. Attaching also little kids that don't even know each other, but they're in the same grade, to fake communications with each other through time and making them act for that. While they're building on predicate acts with facts they're sticking in the databases. I want a response for the confessions of the principal child offender and for the people with the name switching and forging it, and while they're pretending fake motivations for why. With this Dean, with this Darth Vader. The guy uses the name Darth Vader. One of the cops involved. One of the police forums. There are police forums in private on and off Trinity College, and how they're manifest now off the campus, on off the campus. These are also people with the borders police forums, people with New Mexico, students, and there is also a student from New Mexico. I never had a word of conversation with her in my life, who's one of the ones involved with digital crimes. I never told my English teacher from Trinity College. I never sent him a letter asking for a higher grade. On the campus film 24/7. There's also a Dean Judd and his family members involved with the foreign and domestic. Now, these are people that work as for agencies where we're screening whether Democratic themed and Republican themed, they're both criminally foreign influenced / hyper criminally foreign influenced, tactically delusions raw. It's important to stay focused on predicate acts I noted. Because there are wire crimes and mail crimes. A whole bunch of people from Hartford Hospital faked conversations with me as their roles with these people, like a Leahy family is one of the ones involved with this, with the names on my street that have been planting evidences, with the Mark Violet, and the people from Trinity College involved with the untimely deaths, and with the confessions about it on my street as the people on and off campus. Because intercities, it makes more extensive what is being confessed by each of the individuals. And I didn't even respond. And then except for online, he confirmed it online. Because I knew they were planting evidences. Because I watched this since I was a kid. It had something to do with former mayors too from Wethersfield, a former Mayor Gold, and people that have been planting evidences on the sides of parks, intercities, in Hartford, as the ones that have been doing it in Wethersfield, as the ones involved with the Newington campus, a Newington Little Park. Something to do with Eric Jensen, has roles with judges and prosecutors and federal agencies and state police all along the Berlin Turnpike and Route 175. As people involved with more child offenders, leaders of kids proven and further recorded, tied to those uses of those titles. So let's get them on paper, one name and sequence, please. Judge Napolitano and President Berger Sweeny, please get the Joshua Stryker onto paper with the judges and prosecutors in the background because they're family members too. I don't know, Trinity College have roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders, federal evidences, crimes, with Joshua Straker, also with the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants and their family members. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed also at corners of buildings and streets. Like someone will take a picture and they'll try to pretend that where they go back and forth with and to measure and maintain, that details are left out and sequence shifts are left out. So there's a quality of fact treatment nature forced at locations, areas, and states, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, and pretended other. When did they have integrity? They can't even defend James Madison's identity. They're gonna defend Marbury versus Madison. I'm not even a lawyer. I'll delineate the delusions from their criminally foreign influence, fact treatment nature, qualities, aspects, and nature. You get them on paper too. Please keep it personally criminally involved for the Darth Vader. Don't make it Trinity College involved, and keep it personally criminally involved. The dean, judge, and Dean Alford. Be careful with him because there were murders and people associated with the murders and the probation officers that also had roles with the killers, and it's not legitimate training unmarked police forms. People associated with this Kyle Gill and a Tanya Gill, and their roles with the Middletown locations and the interstates. A whole bunch of people tied to Jonathan Mayano involved with Hartford Hospital and the businesses and houses next to it, who have roles with federal crimes, also with evidences that also involves coaches. In other words, I never had a class with John Mayano. He begged me after my class graduated. I had to stay back too, but the lady who had me stay back, I never had a personal conversation with her. She's one of the ones involved also with Washington, D.C. and medical corruption with kids, putting fake things in databases, and the differences of the kids' involvements or the adults. In other words, and when they use the word adult too, still criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. The sciences have been stayed abridged. So please follow mandated law, because they have the Facebook pages of Wethersfield Police and of the child campus. There's a Joshua Julian, who was also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with people at Hartford Hospital with predicate acts on my street. And he confirmed this on Facebook. And he's involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, also in the form of federal evidences, crimes. His roles with child offender, leader of the kids, proven, but when he was forcing it, as roles with some KKK black themed, Confederate flag themed people on off Hartford Hospital's Institute of Living and next to it. And they have roles with foreign and domestic military there. They have roles with more World Trade Center attack and more murders. They have roles with that girl who was, I'm not saying they killed her, but they have roles with that girl dragged to her death from next to Hartford Hospital all the way into Wethersfield and up Jordan Lane and like near the Jordan Lane Ridge Road. And Mark Violet has something to do with that, with why they were planting evidences on my street with and flag theme in the back of a car, confession about their rules with KKK tied to the O'Brien family too, and the black KKK theme. And then with on-off Trinity College and Central Connecticut State University in Yukon, they have his mother as roles for decades with the intelligence community, with psychiatry, and people with identity theft, fraud, slander. I don't know Andrea Violet. They might have taken my picture, something to do with her roles with names all along Route 3 and its conjunctions and adjacents. Also with people with the name Demaro. And a whole bunch of people with New Britain Superior Court involved with federal evidences crimes with the police forms along those roads and routes. And their roles with the news agencies that have been planting stories on there. So WFSB has stories regarding kids, and where they have the kids and adults in the stories along Route 3, that has something to do with their roles with foreign and domestic intelligence. And, evidence is crimes. In other words, WFSB attached me to fake conversations with them to force a principal child abuser. And these are the same people involved with the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, different administrations. These are Clinton people, go way back. In my fourth grade class, tied to in other words, tied to the body dumping spot houses, and with the mayors already involved before that, with a mayor and people with the Hartford Police Department. And in other words, I found out that it's families with a whole bunch of different police departments involved with this name, with this Cololo and O'Brien roles with a Leahy family and with a Brian Silver, who's also involved with New Britain Superior Court and with Connecticut's District Court, with federal evidences crimes, identity theft, fraud, slanders, with the prosecutions, judges, and the difference between them are work criminal enterprises, private ones. They have time collusions with each other, and the news with identity thefts at the same time. It's not debatable. So they want to pretend. So people need to pretend things are people are talking about politics. We have to focus on the predicate acts and get mandated law followed. Get me off the fake conversations with the news and interbranch. And they a whole bunch of people stack fake things into the databases, fake signatures, changing it. In other words, all kinds of evidences crimes with the lawyers and the security on off Hartford Hospital involved with untimely deaths too, and identity theft, fraud, so fake conversations with me, and about federal crimes and cases where they have roles with the federal criminals in them before they were caught, and they lied about the actual outcome of cases, and with the news too, as roles with more World Trade Center predicate acts. Connecticut has a WFSB with intelligence next to them, and people tied to conversations about regarding the spots and names next to them. And the same thing with Fox Connecticut News. The same thing with WTNH, which the FBI is near them. So get them on paper, one name and sequence, and let's go. Let's get their fake conversations with me. And on paper, I never had a conversation with the Wethersfield police when I was a kid or as an adult. They're putting fake tags to me with their police, because they have the kids that did speak with them. I didn't even respond to them. They made all kinds of confessions. Your other is hyper evidentially recorded than is pretended recorded, because they're putting fake recorded things on a mass scale, because they never had the integrity. The forgiveness is to understand how this breaching method knew they would never have the integrity to speak for the law, or they would be censed, including if they're a majority of people, including if they are everyone black pupils. Yeah. We shouldn't have to beg to get the interbranch on payment. Since I was a kid, they stack in, get them on paper. Let's follow mandated law for the interbranch. Please, Judge Napolitano, do what's right. Who disbelieves? I've been asking you since I was a kid for a writing with this. Now let's go. Not you, but in other words, your branch, all you guys. Since you got they put charges with no writing, and then they make confessions and switch. Oh, we made mistakes. Switch officers' names. They're putting fake things in there, array of fake things, so they can adapt later. Criminally foreign influence. Their campuses too. Their homes.